it would be great.
Yes and no. I think we can layer this into different kind of challenges in different kind of contexts.
Hmm.
So yeah, I come from a traditional tech background, worked in an enterprise. I had a job where I had to wear a suit and tie every day in the financial industry as well. So when I entered Web3, you could say it was a culture shock for me, but actually I
Right.
finally felt at home. I
Yeah.
finally like now I understand everyone around me because the Web3 industries communities are very direct. Like they don't hold back. And I love that.
Hmm.
Like I'm also like this. And I thrive on that. Like that makes things just so much easier. You can do things quicker.
Hmm.
You know what's happening, right? So that actually made things easier for me. And when it comes to technology adoption, I think that's the most challenging. Like most users right now are Web3 natives, right? They understand how to create a wallet, how to interact with smart contracts. They know how to swap on DEX, stuff like that. And it's very hard to onboard non-Web3 natives that will need to create a wallet. We need to accommodate them in different ways than we do now. We need to make things much easier, much more logical. There's still a lot of challenges there, and we sometimes run into these challenges as well because we are very enterprise facing. So we speak to large companies, and you cannot ask these large companies to install MetaMask with every employee.
Hmm.
It doesn't. It's not gonna happen. So we are not that naive, so we know what we're dealing with and how to accommodate them, but it's still very challenging. And so if you, for example, look also at our website, we have two websites, one with the AI TLD and one with the IO TLD. And the AI one is more Web3 community focused, Web3 project focused, and the IO TLD one is enterprise focused. And the main differences is that, for example, on the enterprise facing website, we don't even mention that we are offering or leveraging blockchain technology
Hmm.
because they're just not interested in that. It
Yeah.
scares them. It's only after a few conversations that they bring it up themselves. Like, so this is through blockchain technology. That's
Hmm.
perfect. We need that. But in the first conversation, if you mention blockchain, they're like, no, 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 no. That's not what we want. It needs to come organically. That's challenging that we are not there yet with that kind of adoption.
Right. Yeah, that is true. At this point in time, I think entities and enterprise especially are a little wary of decentralized technologies, perhaps because they don't understand it well enough. And that might be a reason why they're wary and intimidated by it. So I think your strategy is actually a good one. And a lot of B2B players, I think, really should make note that, they don't really care, right? Enterprises don't care. They would like to have that as a conversation point perhaps later, but initially it is something that they'll be wary of, they'll be intimidated by. And honestly, nobody really cares what is the technology as long as it's sort of solving their problem.
Exactly. That's exactly you're completely right. You need to solve a problem, or you need to save money, or
Yeah.
you need to avoid risk. But the problem with avoiding risk solutions, which are actually a lot of use cases, when we speak about leveraging blockchain technology, in the end, is to avoid risk. Is to avoid risk that some man in the middle can walk away with funds, that someone can make a decision that is against uh, the whole of the community or the whole of the collective of the users. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
blockchain technology doesn't always immediately solve a problem, except in a couple of use cases. It
Right.
avoids that something can go wrong. Like you can trust that, all the rules will always be followed because it's on chain and it's immutable. But that means that, a lot of enterprises, um, see it as kind of an insurance. Like some enterprises want to avoid risk, but they do it when they run into the risk first. So first they need to experience the problem, and that's like, okay, we don't want to happen that again. We apply blockchain technology from now on. So this is kind of how where we are right now.
Right. Yeah, that is that is absolutely correct. I think that is just where we are. We need to accept that, and accordingly, perhaps create the narrative that will sell our particular product or solution that we are creating. So, this has been all wonderful. I would love to touch upon perhaps a little about your team and the kind of traction you've seen so far on your testnet.
Yeah, absolutely. So the testnet is still largely internal in the sense
Okay.
that you need to build, you need to clone the repositories, you need to interact with it locally, because there is not a lot of public-facing tools available, like wallets and stuff like that. So it's very developer focused. But we have seen that developers already created their own Nuklai network locally. And yesterday, day before yesterday, we had someone created the first meme coin on Nuklai, which is pretty cool. It was Nai Doja, and they won a hoodie. So that kind of traction, you see that developers are actually excited to get started and try something on testnet because it's so novel and unique. It's really exciting. And general interaction, I mean, we've started really growing out the brand and the ecosystem since let's say December, and since then, like we grow our ecosystem for essentially 0 partners to 35 partners, all with a unique contribution to what we do, all an important role. Some of the notable ones are Crunchbase, which is a very traditional data provider globally. Very, very large, but also IONet, GPUnet, Peak. These are all exciting partners that we actively building use cases with on in the Nuklai ecosystem. And when it comes to team, we're around 25 people now, mostly in Europe, with where all of them actually have a background in Web3. Some of them have transitioned from Nexera to Nuklai, so they already have experience working in our ecosystem, and most have like a fitting background in AI, big data, in various industries. So very knowledgeable team. Yeah, very, very proud also of the team, of what we've achieved in essentially kind of a short time frame already. So it's very promising for the time to come, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Only good things are coming your way with the kind of progress you guys are making. I would like to now touch upon a little about the foundation. There is a Nexera Foundation as well, right? So how does that support the broader ecosystem, and how does it enhance the utility of the token that you guys have as well?
And so the Nexera Foundation is essentially the issuer of the token. So it's the foundation of the ecosystem. And foundation is product, open source, and community focused. And from there, we have different, more commercial entities that are taking care of the B2B place inside of the ecosystem. So the Nexera Foundation is really the pure Web3 entity that's taking care of the token and everything around it.
Okay. And can you tell us a little about the token itself and like the utility associated with it?
Yeah, so for Nexera is the NXRA token, Nexera token. And the main utility is for community members who stake the token in the Funders platform. And the Funders platform is central for everything around the token holders and the token buyers in the Nexera ecosystem. And I will explain you how that really works. While staking Nexera, you're collecting RLBT. RLBT is what we call a reputational, an indication of your reputation inside of the ecosystem. It's a token on chain, but it's not a token that you can transfer. You cannot transfer it to another wallet, so it stays with you. Now, the interesting thing is that everything that we do, where it generates revenue or projects that we help fundraise through our launchpad, it will go to one one pool of funds of tokens, and then once in a while we will have burn events where you can burn your reputational token, this RLBT, in exchange for a part of that funding. So any commercial activity that we do around the Nexera protocol, around RWA tokenization, etc., Nexera stakers will get a piece of that pie. So I think it's like the most straightforward and most sustainable utility, because any yield that's generated is sustainable because it comes from somewhere, and it doesn't require an infinite supply of your token because you need to maintain an APY or something.
All right. Okay. So you've created like a circular economy, where the token is also burning at some point, so that it's the demand and supply is kind of balanced.
Yeah, so the burning of the reputation token, and reputation token has absolutely no value except to exist. Like you cannot trade it because you cannot transfer
Okay.
it. You can only earn it by staking Nexera, or you can only burn it in exchange for funds from revenue and other projects. And the Nexera token itself, it's pure utility. Like if you stake it forever, you will always generate reputation, and you will always be able to participate in the revenue streams. So there should be no reason to speculate on the price of it, or to wait for a moment to sell that token, perhaps, because the whole utility of the token is to stake it forever so that you can participate in the economy forever.
Oh, nice. There's a certain stickiness there. Good.
Exactly.
So there's a gamification there that ensures that the user, once he enters the ecosystem, he or she enters the ecosystem, they're able to stick around because they're incentivized to stick around.
Yeah, the whole idea is that it shouldn't be economically viable to unstake and sell the token, because you will miss out on so many great deals.
Right. Yeah. Okay. This is wonderful. This is a very good strategy, I think, in play that you have here. Now, zooming out a little bit, and just talking about the ecosystem in general, there are many exciting trends, and I think there's a trend today in Web3. But what are the kind of trends or developments that you feel very excited about currently?
I think there are a couple of exciting developments. I think the whole AI narrative, even though it's not matured, because there's so much, and excuse me for using this word, bullshit in the industry around AI.
Yeah.
That there is a focus and a lot of innovation on AI is good. Like there is a lot of saturation, a lot of projects doing AI. But it also means there's a lot of experimenting and a lot of innovation, and maybe we cannot use all of it, but we can use some of it, and that's already progress. And I'm very excited about that, because the field of AI is just so exciting and promising, and we want to contribute to that with valuable data, which is still a very undervalued concept, right? So super excited about that. Tokenization of real world assets, I'm super hyped about, because look, many of the challenges that we faced is around ecosystem collapses in the past, were because of unsustainable yield. Like if you don't know where the yield is coming from, like you are the yield, right?
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So then with tokenization of RWAs, you actually know where the yield is coming from, because there is a physical asset, something that sometimes you can touch, or at least sometimes that you can, there is a twin of it somewhere off chain. So that there is actual value. It's kind of a collateral. And that makes, that helps to mature the industry a little bit more, because there's more sustainability in the funds that go around in between ecosystems.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think what you said about how, AI and its advent is very exciting currently, and the way it's sort of progressing, you have to be able to cut through the BS and be able to really see, but there are a lot of interesting, there's a lot of interesting progress that is being made.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's way too much focus on large language models.
Yeah.
And large language models, don't get me wrong, they're absolutely exciting. I was very hyped when OpenAI introduced ChatGPT. I'm sure many more people with me.
Yeah.
Um, but people treat it as that's AI. AI is LLMs, and that's it. You know, it's
Yeah.
we
They
have
don't look
LLMs.
beyond that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's generative AI. We have videos that we can create with prompts, images that we can create with prompts, and music. So everything is generative AI. But AI for businesses, it's around supply chain optimization, working more efficiently, customer support, right? There's so many more use cases for AI that sound a little bit more boring, but solve actual problems like immediately for organizations, but even individuals, governments, that also require that data and that also need to be looked into. So when I see a project that really focuses on in Web3, that really focuses on something again LLM, I'm like, it's such a shame, you know. There is so much more opportunity out there, and that's why we created something with Nuklai that really provides infrastructure for any type of AI. We just make new AI development easier, and we don't push our own AI or only push an LLM AI, and that makes it easier for newer, you know, generative AI or any type of AI development to exist in the future. And that's what we want to contribute to.
Right. Wonderful. Now, this has been a really wonderful conversation, and I have learned quite a bit and gleaned off you. But I would love to perhaps get your perspective on the kind of challenges that entrepreneurs face. Like, I think all of us have faced challenges, but what would be perhaps your advice for entrepreneurs who are struggling at the moment?
Oh, boy, that's quite a question.
Yeah.
I mean, kill your darlings, I think, is a big one. And what I mean with that is if you have built something, you get attached to it. Like you see it
Right.
as your baby. And we've touched upon this earlier in this conversation, right?
Right.
And I see this with some founders. They build something, it doesn't work, and they hang tight to it, you know. They really want to make it work, and they polish it, and they bring in some new tech or try some new marketing angle. But when something doesn't work, it doesn't work. You kill it and you move on. And yeah, it's with many things. Like it's also with people that sunk in a lot of money into something and just want to make it work because they already put so much money into it. um yeah, the whole idea can't be like I invested so much money into it, so I have to make it work. So I invest even more money into it, knowing, you know, deep inside it will never work. You will only lose more and more money. So at some point you have to stop. And it's the same with development of a product or a service. Like when you feel like I might need to pivot, you try something, you try quickly, you feel quickly, you move on.
Yeah. Move quickly, break things, and pivot
Yeah,
fast if you think something is not working.
yeah.
Right. What you said is actually something that I really understand and empathize with, because a lot of entrepreneurs tend to fall in love with their own, like all of us are in love with our own ideas, but we kind of fall in love with what we've created so much and so hard that we lose perspective. And you keep thinking that okay, it'll work, and you waste a lot of time. You need to sort of just incorporate the feedback that you're receiving and perhaps move in that direction.
Exactly. And that's why it's also important to have trusted mentors or advisors around you. And this
Right.
is like it's like a double-edged sword because I know how hard it is to find people that you can trust and that are also senior enough that they can actually provide you valuable advice. Because if you start as an entrepreneur, everyone around you is going to tell you how to do it. And
Yeah.
99% of them are going to be wrong because these are people that have a full-time comfy job, and they will tell you how to be an entrepreneur while they haven't
Yeah.
been an entrepreneur at all, you know. And um but there are people out there that will tell you advice that's sound and that's safe and that you should listen to. So as an entrepreneur, like one of the most important things is to not do it alone, because like you said, like once you get working on something and you get attached to it, you get tunnel vision. You cannot see around you anymore, and you will not be able to find that sensory input to discover like this is not going to work. You need someone that you trust around you that says like, hey, stop for a moment, this is not the way. And so that's like, I would say that's like the second most important thing, like to kill your darling, have someone trusted around you.
Yeah, that's a wonderful way of putting it. A tad morbid, but wonderful nevertheless, because it, it's shocking enough to kind of remember. This,
We can
this
find a
is
better way to phrase it, I'm sure. We can work
yeah,
on
but no, but I think this is good, right? It's shocking, and something shocking kind of stays with you.
exactly.
Wonderful. So, Matt, this has been a very, very wonderful conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself. But we are really out of time. I would love to ask you this one question that I ask everybody who comes on the show. You made a leap from Web 2 to Web 3, and there are several people who are perhaps looking to do the same, and they are still a little wary, a little intimidated, like our bigger enterprises. What would be your suggestions, perhaps one or two suggestions for them to start living on blockchain?
That's a very cool question. And the truthful answer is that not everyone is cut out for the industry. Like I mentioned
Yeah,
before, when I joined Web3, I felt at home. But I also had employees that came from traditional backgrounds that entered the space, joined the company, and then after a couple of months realized like, wow, this is so not for me, and then they left. And
yeah,
I think like you have to see it like when you immigrate into another country. Like if you feel like you want to move to another country, you're not going to go on a holiday for a couple of days and then be like, oh, that's the country where I want to live in, right? You really
right,
need
right.
to experience it. You need to live in it for a while, do day-to-day things, and see if you like the food, the public transport, the people, the culture, etc. And I think it's the same for Web3 industry. Like if you're unsure, you gotta find a way to experience it on a part-time basis or something without burning ships behind you, without leaving a job behind that you cannot get back to. Um, because yeah, it is just not for everyone. The industry, it's a very free industry where everyone speaks their mind. It's
Yeah.
anonymous. Things move incredibly quickly. And you need to love that. You need to love that pace, and you need to love that culture.
Yeah, you need to fall in love with being proven wrong, I think, and just moving fast.
Also, yeah.
Yeah, those are like hallmarks perhaps of Web3. And as you said, even I believe not every industry is for everyone. So obviously, even Web3 is perhaps not for everyone. But if you are intrigued, then the suggestions Matt has given are wonderful. And I love the analogy that you gave that if you decide to move to another country, you're just not gonna decide on the basis of a holiday that okay, this is the place I'm gonna move to. You're gonna have to check out the nitty-gritties.
Exactly. And what I meant by that specifically is like buying a token and being part of a community, that's a holiday.
Yeah.
And actually, taking a part-time job in whatever capacity, even for a few hours per week, you can start to feel the pace, like the culture,
Hmm.
like how things are really working. Because I have employees that started as a community member, then they joined the company and they were like, wow, it's so vastly different than I expected. And they were part of the community for years, right? So that's like they had a holiday, and now they actually gonna live in the country.
Yeah, right. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Matt, once again for taking out the time to speak to me today. This has been a wonderful conversation. Any parting
Likewise.
words before we?
Likewise.
Thank you
Oh,
so
I
much.
really enjoyed it too. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Any parting thoughts before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just I mean, okay, let me think about that. Any parting words? Uh, Yeah, my parting words would be keep an eye on what we're doing. We're moving very fast, many exciting
Hmm.
things coming. And if anyone um, wants to discuss some of the things that I've said, find me on Twitter or on Telegram. You can always tag me in one of the public groups, and I will for sure answer you.
Lovely. It's a wonderful way for our listeners to get involved in what you're building. All the best for your vision, Matt. And I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for the product. What you're building is already very pertinent, but I think even in the coming days, it'll become even more important.
Thank you so much.